how I made over 200K in my first year of wholesaling real estate. Guys, it's Rick Ginn. In today's video, I'm going to take you back to my first year so you guys can kind of relate to your story of wholesaling and your frustrations, and I'm going to share them along the way. But more importantly, I'm going to show you the timeline on how I got to that 200K, and I'm going to show you how your path can be very similar. Even if you're frustrated and you don't have your first deal yet, I'm going to show you how it works in that first year. So before I get into it, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, you hit that subscribe button so you can get the best information on wholesaling today. So my first year of wholesaling, to be honest with you, way back in 2003. I know I'm old, I get it. But you got to understand, a lot of people go, well, Rick, you had a huge advantage back then when you started. And I'm here to tell you it's the complete opposite. In fact, there was such little information on wholesaling, you had to take a massive risk. Honestly, title companies didn't even completely understand the assignment contract. Nothing was mainstream. So it was easier to talk to people because wholesaling wasn't really prevalent, but nobody knew how to do it correctly. In fact, I look back on how I started, it was absolutely crazy because I didn't get a wholesaling course. In fact, I actually bought a course on how to retire in 10 years or less. And the idea was to buy 10 rental properties, get them all paid off with the tenant's income. And then when those properties went up, that you're $1 to $2 million in assets. And to be honest with you, it's not a bad strategy, but I quickly found out that banks will only lend you so much money and you got to make money today in wholesaling. So I was in a corporate job and I had to find another way. So eventually I bought some rental properties and then I figured out wholesaling, and I had to go to RIA meetings. I had to get on a plane and fly to Atlanta, Georgia to a big RIA meeting. And I met some really influential people. And I'm going to be honest with you, I got introduced by a guy called Robert Sheeman, a great guy. He's a good friend of mine now. And he just simplified and showed me how wholesaling worked. Didn't tell me a course, didn't do anything. And I took his advice and I just started pressing. And I was fortunate enough to get started in wholesaling. Here's the funny part. My first deal wasn't even like the real traditional methods. I actually did networking. Why? Because I came from the corporate world and I knew how to network really well. We did this thing called sales calls. So I went out and met with every realtor I humanly possibly can. I look back now, it was one of the dumbest things I ever did, but I took a massive amount of action. I had no idea what I was doing. I probably met with about 95 realtors, and of that, about 3 realtors really got what I did. And I said, listen, if you ever get a house that's tired, it's old, it's outdated, maybe they bought it new from you and 10 years later they want to sell it, I can give you a cash offer on that and get you your full commission paid. And then also, if you ever have a listing that's just sticking in the market because it's ugly or there's problems with it or the seller needs to sell fast, give me a call. Now, in the beginning, I wanted them to call me for everything, but after a while, I figured out you burn a lot of bridges by doing that. So a realtor actually called me, and here's the cool part. She's like, it is my mom's house. It is located on the water, and she needs to sell it. It's way outdated. It's never going to go well in the market. If we could come to terms, can I represent you as the cash buyer? And I'm thinking, there's no way in hell I'm getting this deal. So I got my car, I drove down there, I looked at it, and I wrote a contract right there. And I made a quick $15,000 on this deal. I had no idea what I was doing. Honestly, I probably could have made 80 to 100, but I sold it to a rehabber. He fixed the property up. It was on the water. And then a year later, just under a year, he made $300,000 off my $15,000. But like, honestly, I was ecstatic. And you guys should always want your buyers to make money off of you, because if you don't want them to make money off you, you're not really a wholesaler and you're not providing any value. If you're taking all the value, then you wind up doing fix and flipping. I don't like fix and flipping because it's an unpredictable profit margin. Wholesaling is extremely predictable. That's why I love it. So I started out my first deal networking. I went on from there and I got another deal. I made about $7,000 or $8,000, very similar. It was her grandmother's house. She wanted to sell it quick, get a commission, and she didn't want like all the hassle with her grandmother. So networking is how I got my first 2 deals off the ground. It's old school. You all know how to do it. And if you go out and do the networking, it works really well. Title companies, property management companies, realtors, lawyers, all these people, but you got to find a way to naturally have a conversation with it and make it authentic. Don't be some greasy salesman that just constantly begs for information from them because they won't give it to you. So after I did this, I found this thing called government lists. And a government list is nothing more than a lead that's derived from a government source. So it can be the tax delinquency list. It can be the pre-foreclosure list. It can be a code violation list. It can be a probate list. These lists go on and on. And if you want to learn more on how to find the best government lists that have the highest motivated sellers, go over to freewholesaling.com. We teach it in grave detail. Now, here's a really cool part. These lists are free, but they're not the easiest in the world to get. And you're going to have to overcome resistance with persistence. We teach you exactly how to do it at freewholesaling.com. Now, once you get this list, it's like smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So fire being your motivated sellers and smoke being the direction of where to point to. When people get on these lists, it is dynamite. In fact, most wholesalers won't even chase these lists because they find it too difficult. And most gurus won't even tell you about the list because they can't figure out how to make money on it. So I figured, let's just go ahead and do the list. So I went out and go chase all the lists. And here's the list I came home with. I came home with the pre-foreclosure list. I got it at the courthouse. I got the code violation list at the city building department. And I got the tax delinquency list from the tax collector. And I was off. I took those three lists. I had to figure out how to sort them out. And back then, we didn't do skip tracing. We didn't do anything like that because it was like we didn't know how to do it. Only like bill collectors knew how to do that. And we did this good old thing called driving for dollars. Now, we would get in our car and I would take the code violation list and particularly the pre-foreclosure list, my two favorite lists, and I door knocked. I just knocked on the door. So I was desperate to get a deal because I already got two deals. I already got the taste in my mouth. How do I keep it going? And I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I was scared to death. And I picked up multiple code violation deals and I picked up a really nice pre-foreclosure deal. And I was on my way with government lists. Once I figured it out, code violations, pre-foreclosures, I just went and knocked on the door. Was it the best method? I don't know. But I had guts and I just went out and did it. And then every now and then when someone would answer the door, I would leave a little note on the door. Say, hey, listen, I just got a question about your house. It's Rick. Give me a call. I put on my virtual phone number. And that's how we kind of invented reverse driving for dollars. And today, driving for dollars works very well on those two types of lists I mentioned to you. The only difference is I wouldn't even door knock them anymore because with Ring doorbells and why people just don't answer the door anymore. If you put out 100 sticky notes on code violations and pre-foreclosures saying, call me back, got a quick question, and maybe 10 people call you back, I just save you 90 painful conversations or confrontations. And let's be honest, who's actually going to answer the door anymore? So I did basically driving for dollars and I would knock on the door and then I'd leave a note on it. So fast forward today, I give you a couple techniques. I would use the code violations, pre-foreclosures, and do the reverse driving for dollars. It's exactly what I just told you. If you want more detailed information, go over to freewholesaling.com. We'll teach you how to do it there 100% for free. So I wound up doing a total of 5 deals and go back to my first 2 deals. I netted about $20,000. And on my next 5 deals, I did solely off the code violations and the pre-foreclosure list, knocking on the doors. So I've given you techniques so you don't have to do the door knocking because we're in a different world today. But once I got the first deal and the second deal, then I went to my government list. And guys, there's so many more lists other than the ones I'm talking about here. And I was able to take down 5 more deals for a total of 90,000. Now I'm going to be honest with you. This was probably the most brutal stretch of my wholesaling career. I sucked at it. I didn't know how to talk to people. And honestly, the 5 deals I got were complete lay-me-downs. And I screwed up so many good deals because I didn't know what to say, how to say it. Even the courses on wholesaling back when I started, they were so bad and they were so expensive. You had to figure this stuff out yourself. So if you're saying, well, Rick, you had it so easy back then, I'm telling you guys, I heard the same arguments when I started in 2003. It's too saturated, it's too hard. Everybody knows what we're doing. And then here we are going into 2024 with the same dang argument. Just get started if you truly want to be financially free. So basically, I did the reverse driving for dollars and then I physically knocked on doors. And I've told you, maybe you don't want to do it that way, this way. But I also added this simple strategy today, which I still preach on heavily, on just driving for dollars. And that's you just getting in your car, go out and looking at ugly houses, high grass, boarded up windows, blue tarps on roofs, collect the addresses. You can simply skip trace that information at truepeoplesearch.com. Or if you want a paid service with unlimited skip tracing, you can go over to dmzack.com and they work dynamite in tandem together. Guys, don't overlook driving for dollars. If you're ever short on leads, one of the easiest ways is for you to hop in a car or you and your partners hop in a car and go fill up a yellow pad of paper and just fill it up. Sometimes just massive amount of action will solve a lot of your revenue issues. Some of you guys overthink stuff. Just go out and get leads. Why I like driving for dollars is because it's visual. If I had just 150 leads from driving for dollars and then I had a lead of 5,000 high equity, I'd be more excited about the driving for dollars because you have an additional clue. You know that smoke, when the property's rough, people don't leave properties in rough condition on purpose. It's usually because they got a pending problem that's more important in their life. And that's where you, the wholesaler, comes in, tries to help them solve it by getting the house sold and have them get on with their life so the house can get the proper care going forward. So I'm backtracking. My first 2 deals were taken down network. The next 5 were completely off government list. So that was about 20 grand, then 90 grand. And then I did 5 off driving for dollars and a concentrated door knocking, which in today's terms would be reverse driving for dollars. And I picked up another 60K. So right now I'm about at 170,000 and I'm deep about 10 months into my wholesaling journey. And then this is where things really change. So this is why I'm such a huge advocate, and maybe I'll get the link to you of why me and Zach teach you the way you do. You see, if you can get your first few deals by just 100% sweat equity and going out and just grinding and really take a massive amount of action and understanding you need a high quantity of leads and you need a massive amount of action and you can't stop till you get there. I always tell you, try to get 5 deals on your own. Why? Because if you can do that, you most likely you are cut out for wholesaling. If you fail miserably trying to get your first deal and it never happens, the reality is you just haven't accepted what you have to do to be a great wholesaler. In fact, I'm here to tell you, you just want the end game and you don't want to go through the journey. And that's okay. You just got to be brutally honest with yourself. But if you can get to do 5 deals by doing the tried and true government list, driving for dollars, reverse driving for dollars, and networking, most likely you're going to do very well in wholesaling. And that's the honest to God truth that most gurus won't share with you. In fact, they want you to pay for a course, do paid leads. Why? Because it's just, they get paid. And then if you do paid leads or anything like that, they look like a hero. And the problem with that is you're not ready for it because you don't know how to talk to people. You don't know how to run a business yet. And you haven't figured out wholesaling. So let's get you to 5. Once you get to 5, I'll show you how to get to 10. And so at this point, I was well over 10. I decided to take a risk and do what we call direct mail. And this is simply like adding a rocket fuel to your wholesaling business. You have the same operations, everything, but leads come inbound to you. And so instead of me getting in my car chasing thing every day, which I almost killed myself for the first 10 months, somebody showed me how to do direct mail. And honestly, it changed my trajectory in wholesaling. Why? Because I was getting a ton of leads without wasting my time going out and manually pulling them. In fact, I got so good at talking to sellers with the first dozen deals I did in my first year of wholesaling. When I did direct mail, it was natural because it was actually easy. And when they were calling me, I had a distinct advantage over them. Now, it's not cheap to do. I'm not going to lie. You got to make an investment and do it. But I would invest $3,000 to $5,000 in direct mail and I'd get 30 to 40 grand back. You do the math on it. And as you get better and you learn how to talk to people, you can institute things like this to scale your business. See, so many of you think you got to like run and grind and hustle for the rest of your life in wholesaling. And that's not the truth. You do have to do it usually in your first year to prove you can make money in this business. This is just like Shark Tank, guys. You see people, they bring a product. At the end of the day, all the sharks want to know is what's the traction? What are the sales? And if there's no sales and you just dink around with your product, nobody wants to invest in it. When it's got sales, they don't care how bad your packaging is, how bad your speech is. You have proven a business model and that's all you're doing in wholesaling. So I implore you to go out and get your first 5 deals on your own. You don't need paid leads. You don't need any of that. You just need to go out and get your government list, do your driving for dollars, your reverse driving for dollars, and networking. Trust me on this. And if you can cut your teeth on that, I will show you how to do the direct mail. Once I added direct mail from 10th month on, I wound up adding 15 more deals to my pipeline, well exceeding my $200,000 that I made my first year. Could I have done it without direct mail? Possibly. But the thing is, as you grow as a business person, you find ways to make your business more efficient. It took me 10 months to find out how to be efficient, but I wouldn't skip that journey for anything because in those 10 months, I learned what didn't work. And I also learned how to talk to sellers, how to run a business, and how to get through the difficult days. And if you can do that, you'll survive. There's a reason there's a 95% failure rate in wholesaling because people don't understand the commitment level it takes to work in your first year of wholesaling. Hopefully by today, by sharing to you my first year, my $200,000 journey, I gotta be honest, it was one of the most difficult years of my life, but by far the most rewarding. And it's what really changed my trajectory in wholesaling. And it's one of the reasons I'm talking to you today. So guys, let me know if my journey is similar to yours. Are you stuck on that deal 1 through 5? Because that's the hardest part. If you can muscle through it and get it, you'll actually be unstoppable in wholesaling. Get to that deal 5. Start with your first deal, get to deal 5, and then let me show you ways to scale your business. So if you want to learn more on how to get started in wholesaling, go over to freewholesaling.com. We don't only teach how to do your first deal, we teach how to make your first 100 grand. And as usual, guys, if you got value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, you hit that subscribe button. This is Rick Ginn, and I'll talk to you soon.